Hello, and welcome to the We Are Power podcast. If this is your first time here, the We Are Power podcast is the podcast for you, your career, and your life. We release an episode every single Monday with listeners in over 60 countries worldwide, where you'll hear personal life stories, top-notch industry advice, and key leadership insight from amazing role models. As We Are Power is the umbrella brand to Northern Empowerment Awards, which celebrates hundreds of female role models and advocates every year. This is where you can hear stories from all of our awards alumni and stay up to date with everything MPW Awards and We Are Power. Well, today I am joined by Nicola Wood, who is the Chief Exec and founder of the Wonderful Wig Company and a 2024 Northern Empowerment Awards winner. Nicola, great to see you again. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me. Nice to see you again.
And it was great to see you. It was only last month, wasn't it, when we were up in the Toon, up in Newcastle, with the fabulous Kim McGuinness, talking about all things Newcastle social value and everything else. So it was an amazing event. Great Northeast energy. So tell us about where the Wonderful Wig Company came from, because it's obviously very personal.
Yeah, so I've been a hairdresser all of my life. And so I was working as a hairdresser, had a nice suburban business on the outskirts of Sunderland, and I was quite happy plodding along. And then when I was 36, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And so off the back of that, I really did realise and saw firsthand every single day the impact of a woman having no hair and what it did for her confidence, how she held her hat, how she held herself. I just saw the sparkle gone in all of these women's eyes every day for months and months and months. And just had a bit of an epiphany that actually I've spent my life making people feel wonderful with hair. How can I make people without hair feel wonderful too? And that was it, really. That was how that was where the fire in my belly came from, to set up that business.
And you're well now.
I am.
And at what point did you start that business? Because you're dealing with the attack on your body, the mental pressure, and you've observed what is going on around you with these amazing women that are going through sort of the same, similar and dissimilar situation to yourself. And you had that spark to do it. But at what point in that did you start?
Did that become action?
Yeah.
Yeah, like literally the minute I got home. Back to you. I felt as somebody I'm very driven. I'm very high energy. Do. I'm an action taker, but I like it that way. You know, this has been me all of my life. I operate at a certain level. And with cancer, that was absolutely taken away from us in a moment, you know, the ability to actually think what I could do next, the ability to be able to function on a daily basis. So all of these choices are taken away from you. And actually your ability to think of what future have I got, you know, and what is my legacy? All of these questions are running through your head really quickly. And I think when I had this epiphany, and it happened in the hospital, I just couldn't wait to get home and start the research, because it took my mind off cancer. It saved me. It absolutely saved me. Having that epiphany, I never really thought for 1 minute more, oh, poor me, I've got cancer, or what can I do today? Because I had this purpose. I couldn't cut hair. I couldn't be in my own business, but I could research. And when I was well, I could be on the internet. And when I was even more well, I could do a bit of traveling and explore what was out there. So it saved I felt like it saved my mental health, my anxiety around cancer, everything.
And what was the big challenge in that time? Because you're dealing with your health and breast cancer and setting up a business. The two really big things, big life-changing things. Setting up a business is no mean feat. What were those challenges along the way, and how did you get through them?
I would say the first year, whilst I was in convalescence, if you want to call it that, sort of in and out of treatment and hospitals, that whole year, um, it was the research element of the business. It was the growing my knowledge. It was attaining that ability. So from a financial perspective, there was no pressure. Um, However, there was a lot with cancer. I would say most of the actual pressures from cancer come from um not from the cancer. It's from being able to be present with your little boy, who my little boy was 6, and I wanted to just be normal for him and paying the mortgage when suddenly, like, the salon was without its main breadwinner. All of those things tend to stress you out more. So those were the challenges. And then, of course, once I'd done the research and I wanted to actually build this business physically, then it was, where the hell do I get the money? Because cancer absolutely makes you skint. And I didn't have a contingency plan at 36 for having a year off work, or paying a team when I wasn't there. So one of the biggest challenges was definitely finance. Um, but I was adamant that I was doing it. And my husband knows me really quite well. And when I say I'm going to do something, I generally do. And when I want something, I tend to get my own way, especially with him. So yeah, he let me remortgage our house, and we took a loan from my wonderful father-in-law, um, loaned me some money to do it. Yeah.
And it's interesting you talk about finance because we had Ginan Adamu on the podcast just before Christmas. And again, she's just finished her radiation. So big high five to our Ginan for breast cancer literally a few weeks ago. And she talked about the unspoken issues around cancer, which is that finance bit. And fortunately, she says, I had insurance to help cover, but again, self-employed. How am I going to do this? How am I going to look after my little boy? But this is not one of the things that is spoken about, is it?
I didn't realize really the life I was living until it was kind of almost taken away from us. And that was, I had to live in a nice house, I drive a nice car, um, all of these things. You can't just give your car back because you can't afford the payments anymore, can you? You can't just say, actually, I can't afford that for the next year. And I didn't have insurance. So yeah, top tip, get some insurance. Um, I've got life insurance, but I didn't have that specialist insurance for being off work with cancer. So I wish I'd had. It would have taken away a lot of the problems. And then I think just that pressure that we put on ourselves, I certainly do, to still be the perfect mummy who does the school run every day, or who looks nice when she goes to Sainsbury's, or can still be a good friend, or still be a good leader. I think that kind of pressure that I put on myself. Yeah.
And you have, with the Wonderful Wig Company and the advocacy, because that comes as well. You're out there, big an advocate for her loss, but you've reached over 15,000 people and counting, right?
Yeah. That's 15,000 people, like, in person in 7 years.
What's next?
Yeah. So last year we opened our first franchise because I would like to have more UK. I want everybody to be able to have the service that they deserve when they lose their hair, and the support that they deserve. And quite often, it is better delivered in person. What we do, of course, we can do a lot of stuff online, and we did so throughout COVID. Everything was online. We can do that. We can do all kinds online, but actually holding somebody's real hand when they're going through the toughest time is so important. So we want to do more of the real hand holding, and that would mean getting a bigger reach across the UK. That means having more physical sites across the UK. Um, which is what we're planning to do.
And we talked about you are an advocate. You are a total advocate out there. And talk to me about you spoke about this, didn't you, at TEDx Warrington? You've had probably just short of 40,000 people view that TED Talk. How scary was that?
Yeah, that was scary. That was really, really out of my comfort zone entirely. And it's so much hard work. But the most incredible feeling of accomplishment, the most incredible feeling when you've nailed your script, when you know it and you know it inside out and you can see it backwards and I couldn't the preparation I really did prepare. It was very scary and I put the hours in and that is what led to being able to deliver a good talk, I want to say. And also I think that's what's next. It's me using my voice to reach a bigger audience and the TEDx allowed me to do that. Obviously, I've got a book coming out and that will allow me, hopefully, to reach people further afield as well.
And we'll talk about the book in a minute, but we have WhatsApp groups across the We Are Power Northern Power Women community for our finalists from last year. And a few weeks ago, we were putting a shout out for this year's 2025 finalists. And one of your fellow commended winners from last year, Alexandra Knight. She's just had a TEDx Talk published, and there was sharing notes, but there are the top tips. What would you say? I think you've just given one in the menu, which is prepare. But Alex has just got a TED Talk out there, and they are scary. And the fact that you get up there without notes and you memorize it, but it does give you that reach and a voice. I was back in the day TEDx licensee for TEDx Whitehall Women, and I love the passion of giving people in the stage. And I love to talk, and I love to chat, and I love to have conversations like this. But the thought of standing up there in a TEDx environment is terrifying. What advice would you give out there for someone who wants to do that, but maybe are feeling a bit of the fear?
Pick the right place and the right team. Obviously, there are so many different ones you can go for, but pitch to the right people, and then build your resilience, because for all of the right reasons, I want to say probably 100 script revisions, and every time you think you've got it, you get more critique that it could be better, or let's change this, or have you thought about that? And actually, I'm pretty resilient, but actually, at moments I was like, maybe I just can't do this. Maybe I just haven't got it in us. So just be prepared that it is a challenge like no other, but you'll have no better feeling after. And actually, to have my message, which is so niche, reach that many people worldwide. How many platforms give you that? Yeah. And also the network that you build, the people that you're on that path with, they really get it. And we've built such a lovely network as well. Go for it. Do it.
Love that. Go for it. Prepare, go for it, do it. In no particular order. No, in 2023, you were the winner of the Most Inspiring Businesswoman at the Best Businesswomen Awards. And obviously, as I mentioned earlier, you are Disruptor for Good Award at the 2024 Northern Power Women Awards. What part of awards got to play in raising profile, building community, as you've just said?
Incredibly important. I'd never ever, I'd been in business for 16 years prior to building the Wig Company. I'd never even given an award a thought. Nobody had ever entered us for an award. And then obviously doing this and winning a couple of really very, very prestigious awards, it absolutely catapults your brand. It absolutely puts you in front of the network that has came off the back of We Are Power. It's uncomparable to not happen to being part of that. It's you've suddenly got this huge team of people who, just because you're affiliated with the award, and because they've seen work. It's putting you in front of people who would never, ever know Nicola from Sunderland who does wigs. Now I meet people from all over the country and they know who I am and what I do. And so that's pretty incredible.
Let's talk about the book, and I'm so very, very grateful and honoured that you asked me to write some words for your book. Tell me what the book is about and when it's out.
Yeah. So the book will be released on World Cancer Day, which is the 4th of February 25. And it is a book of stories, anecdotes, lessons. It's a book about my journey with cancer, which in the grand scheme of things is, not that interesting to anybody who's not me, I guess. But what I found was I get a lot of release from writing. I was certainly not a novelist, but I journal all the time. I'm constantly writing. I've always got a notebook like right by my side. And I get a lot of relief from that. And I was writing more and more and more as I was going through cancer. And for a couple of years after, because things changed, but I was still, it kept coming up in everything I was writing, kept coming out how I was feeling. And then I met thousands and thousands of people going through cancer who we all talked about the same things, even though my little story is very different from the next person's and experiences are different. We have similar outlooks, we have a similar humour, we have a similar script that we talk about. We'd speak a foreign language, like cancer's a foreign language until you've got it. And I just thought, and then I met lots of people come to us and they don't have anyone. They haven't got anybody to hold their hand through this. They haven't got anybody who'll come with them and say somebody was coming for a wig fit and they haven't got somebody to tell them whether they look nice in it or not. And I just thought, how sad is that? And once you find out that you're not alone in anything, it's less scary. So I just thought, I wonder if a few of us could get a collection of like how everybody's different, but we're all the same, and just kind of like a bit like a club. And we used to refer to cancer as the club that I never asked to join. And so, yeah, basically it's a book of perspective and probably almost 50 perspectives, and that's of people in treatment, the brother of somebody in treatment, doctors, nurses, children, mums, daughters, their short stories and perspectives on their cancer path. And we've just compiled that. And it is the highs and the lows and everything in between. It's not a book to try and make everybody come out of that book feeling positive. It's got some positive in it, but it's also got some deep sadness in it, because that is the reality of cancer. And I just wanted a book that you could read if you had cancer. You could read if your mum had cancer, so that you could get a better understanding of how she was feeling. You could read if you could buy it for your best friend if she was diagnosed. And just kind of, a book to have everybody have a bit more understanding of what it's really like.
It's, like you say, it's a hug in a book. And even more importantly, a big, huge northern hug in a book.
Yeah, nothing better.
Nicola, you are full of passion and purpose and impatience to make change, but what would you say is your superpower?
I have the ability to make people feel better.
It's priceless. Totally priceless. Nicola, you are so much more than wigs. You are so much more than the qualifications. You are so much more than the profile. You are especially you. You are just an amazing human who is passionate about giving back, paying forward and giving that virtual hug. Thank you so much for joining me today, and thank you for being awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Subscribe on YouTube, Apple, Amazon Music, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a review or follow us on socials. We are power_net on Insta, TikTok and Twitter, or We Are Power on LinkedIn, Facebook, and We Are _power on YouTube.